That was a 14-year-old baby.
Right.
And then years
Say
took every part of his life.
Come on
Took
now.
everything
Don't
from
get me
him.
started.
His eyes,
Come on,
his
she
ears,
lied.
everything.
That's
What
right.
kind of
That's
human
right.
being
And
do
they
that to another human being?
Yes.
It made me think an animal caught a hold to the child instead of a human being.
That's what happened.
You took his eyes, you took his ears, and his mama let the world see how they did her baby.
That's
That
right.
is a hurtful thing in this world. But I ask God today that he stand with the Till family as well as he stand with the Aubrey family. That we get justice for these people that's killing our babies out here. Because we don't know what they could have turned out to be. That could have been our president. That could have been anything in this world. But y'all trying to take our legacy. But it ain't going to happen. Because it stopped today.
It stopped today.
Today is 223. When my nephew got killed, it stopped today. No more death.
That's right.
We should live and not die.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Greetings, cousins. Welcome to the second of 3 installments of Women of the Movement and Let the World See, the ABC productions, which feature our guest tonight, Iman Ali, who was the stand-in for Mamie Till in the film Women of the Movement. And we have special guests tonight and wanting to just welcome you to ask your friends and family to join us tonight. You can dial in through blacksandgreen.org, our website, to this live broadcast, blacksandgreen.org. For this live broadcast, I'm Naomi Davis, the founder and CEO of Blacks and Green, proud granddaughter of Mississippi sharecroppers who, with 7 million others, voted with their feet and moved up south for freedom and economic opportunity. And didn't we just make America great? Blacks and Green, we are the owners and stewards of the Emmet and Mamie Till Mobley House Museum, Garden and Theater, emerging at 6427 South St. Lawrence in historic West Woodlawn. And we're the creators and consultants of the Sustainable Square Mile system for creating walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, walk to play villages where African Americans own the businesses, own the land, and live the conservation lifestyle. We are implementing the 8 principles of green village building, a whole system solution for the whole system problem, common to Black communities everywhere. And we are out to increase the rate neighbor-owned businesses are created and sustained, build the capacity of neighbors to own, develop, and manage the property in their communities, and to advance the conservation lifestyle. So in this way, we are looking and aiming and committed to increasing household income of the legacy residents of our Sustainable Square Mile in historic West Woodlawn. And that, we say, is the gold standard for economic development in the Black community. So here we are. We are introducing our producer for this evening, Iman Ali, CEO and founder of the Integrative Medicine and Nutrition, LLC, and affiliate member of Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine, where she served as research assistant for the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine. As a Reiki master teacher, Iman specializes in energy medicine, mindfulness meditation, and is a certified urban Zen integrative therapist under fashion icon Donna Karan, trained in treating pain, anxiety, insomnia, nausea, digestion issues, and exhaustion using Eastern modalities. Iman has worked for nearly 2 decades in social cause marketing with some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry: Kanye West, Snoop Dogg, Russell Simmons, Common, G Herbo, and many more. She made her film debut in Universal's James Brown biopic, Get On Up. Do you just love that? With Chadwick Boseman. She's featured on Tyler Perry's Haves and Haves Not, Bet the Game, Devious Maids, and recently casted in Jay-Z and Will Smith's movement, Women of the Movement, in a production role as Mamie Till stand-in. As I said, working alongside Tony Award winner Adrienne Warren as Mamie Till. Iman is ambassador for the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. Thank you, Iman, for being here tonight. We've also got Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Johnson is a doctor of clinical psychology, a certified school psychologist. He's an expert on the education and mental health of African and African American children, a former Minister of Education for the Honorable Marcus Garvey's UNIA ACL, and a direct descendant, okay, brother's claiming his roots, we like that, a direct descendant of formerly enslaved Civil War veterans who served in the 9th and 19th Regiments of the United States Colored Troops of Maryland. He's most known for his work in identifying misdiagnosed learning disabled and ADHD students. He's the only scholar in Breakfast Club history to garner 1 million views for his interviews in less than 24 hours. And we've got him here tonight, y'all. His books, articles, and lectures are included in college and university professors' curricula across the country. And he's the creator of the Unapologetically African, Unapologetically Black brands, and so much more. We welcome Dr. Umar Johnson to the program. We have Tori Muhammad, a digital marketing strategist who creates powerful digital content that entertains, educates, and empowers the Black community. He's the creator of Bean Soup Media, LLC, many of us know and log in regularly. And it's a digital media and marketing company that produces 2 brands, Bean Soup Times, yummy, 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 the Black Chicago Eats. Yes, we're a follower of that one. It's a mission he began when he joined the Nation of Islam under the leadership of Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at 19 years of age. Since 1993, Muhammad has contributed to the Final Call newspaper, where his articles and photos reported from the frontline stories that help give voice to the voiceless, such as the original Death Row 10, who were victims of former police commander John Burge. You know the name. Muhammad has worked as a communications director for the Interfaith Committee on Worker Justice, SEIU, and Congressman Bobby Rush, and he resides here in Chicago. We also have tonight attorney Lynn Whitfield, a graduate of the University of Miami School of Law. Attorney Lynn Whitfield has been practicing in the South Florida area for over 40 years. She's been an assistant state's attorney. That's where she started. She moved to become a public defender. She's been assistant city attorney for the city of West Palm Beach. She's had her own practice in criminal defense and municipal law. She served as city attorney for both North Miami and Hollandale Beach, has appeared as a legal commentator on the ABC affiliate and West Palm Beach, and she's lectured at many national, state, and local forums. She's been active as a volunteer with the Electronic Protection for Voters for many years. We know how important that is. Currently working as the Director of Election Protection and Executive Director of the Good Trouble Voting Rights Institute, as a fellow for the Transformative Justice Coalition. She's one of the leaders in the Ahmaud Arbery trial. Say his name, y'all. And the role of that organization in the trial of the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery involves the fact that after meeting with the Arbery family and learning their story as it related to the fight for justice, made a commitment to the family that they would be there to support them, come what may, and uplift the community as they continue to fight for justice. Amen. Amen. And last but not least, we've got Ollie Gordon tonight, second cousin and surrogate daughter to the late Mamie Till Mobley, mother of Emmet Till, whose tragic murder in 1955 near Money, Mississippi. We've been revisiting in this three-part series, part 2 of which we're going to see tonight. Ollie spent the majority of her childhood in the home with Mamie and Emmet. After Alma Spearman, Emmet's grandmother, assisted with the relocation of her family from Drew, Mississippi. Mamie nurtured Ollie, along with her siblings, throughout the years, as they would often spend weekends and summer months together. Mamie and Ollie developed a special bond during their formative years that grew stronger after the untimely death of Ollie's mother, and their unique relationship became unbreakable as Mamie endowed her with a maternal support until her death in 2003. We're glad to welcome Ollie as our guide for the three-part documentary series, which follows the film tonight. The film from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time, and the documentary from 9 to 10 Central Standard Time. I just want to welcome and tell everyone how profoundly grateful we are for the opportunity to be with this group tonight. Again, dial in at www.blacksandgreen.org. Tonight's episode of the Women of the Movement is going to feature Emmet's visit to Mississippi from Chicago, a trip that he protested for. He had to get special permission from his mom, who was reluctant, we might understand, and that connection with the South, that tradition that a lot of Black people participated in of sending their kids south for the summer. I went. Others on this panel tonight went, and many millions others went. And in that episode, we see the horror of his kidnapping, his murder, and Mamie's strength and courage in bracing for that news, carrying forward to change the course of history in America. Iman, how much of what we saw in episode 1 were you a part of? And how was it for you, like watching the film, reliving the recording of it, this playback this past Thursday? What was it like?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Naomi, to my heart goes out to you for opening Blacks and Green and your whole production staff to help us to do this. Such a very important piece of our history. I'm very, very grateful and honored to have been there for most of what you saw in our first episode of Women of the Movement. A stand-in is what most people may not be familiar with. You might be familiar with the term double. So a stand-in is a person who works alongside the principal actors to help set up every shot for them. That means that you're in rehearsal. You have to go through the shots, through the setting of the shots with lighting, sound, but also you may have to do their lines just to set up for her. Adrienne Warren, Tony Award winner Adrienne Warren, did did an excellent job, as these were some very tough moments. In fact, when I was asked to step in with this role, it wasn't something that I jumped at. I did tell her that I had to think about that because I understood, what it would mean for me as a native of Mississippi, as a migrant to Chicago, who spent my summers in the Delta, like you, Naomi, like Emmet, every summer going down into the Delta, about 30 minutes from Money, Mississippi, where Emmet was killed. So this storyline has been a part of our history, has been a part of our makeup, even though we weren't born, 66 years ago. It is passed down generationally. The fear of Mississippi, the fear of the Deep South, of the Delta, not to step out of line. I know for a fact my uncle had that, was told that by my great grandmother, just, boy, you better not whistle. You know what happened to that boy from Chicago. And so these thoughts and these images and the memory of what happened is still very prevalent in our conscious and our psyche. And I'm very happy that Dr. Umar Johnson is here tonight to kind of help us, as many of us are being stimulated again from watching it, even if it's our first time. I know my little niece that's 17 years old wanted her mother just to turn it off during the airing of it last week. But knowing that it was a assignment that was going to require a lot out of me, not just as a native Mississippian, but also as a therapist, as a healer, as an intuitive, stepping into the energy or the frequency of what Mamie Till suffered, what Emmett Till suffered, what Blacks in the South in 1955 went through, and knowing that my family is still there. And if you know anything, if you haven't been to Mississippi, many people fear going down to Mississippi. But if you haven't been to the Delta in particular, that energy is still very prevalent. And what you saw in Greenwood, Mississippi, everything, all of the scenes primarily that you saw was shot in Greenwood, Mississippi. Even the Chicago house scene, that was a recreated block there in Mississippi, and we definitely felt that we were in Chicago. But so I definitely realized that this was a responsibility, not only for me knowing that, the body stores memory, we pass down thoughts, feelings, emotions, energy, fears, and doubts, not just from the wombs of our mothers, from generation to generation, but also through culture, through programming, and different things that have happened to us over the years. And so to stand in as Mamie Till, as a healer, I knew that this was me standing in the gap between the seen and the unseen realm, healing the grounds of Mississippi, as you saw in the video that we aired in the beginning. What you were looking at was me bringing out therapies and tools that I use in therapy to bring people back into their parasympathetic nervous system. When we're stressed, when the body and the mind is stressed, we are not in the front part of the brain. We're primarily working in the back part of the brain, the amygdala, which deals with fight or flight. Do I fight? Do I flee? It's a stressful hormones that are released when we are in that part of the brain. And the front part of the brain, the prefrontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex, is not even working. The part of the brain that, allows us to be able to make logical decisions. So the problem is, when you stay in a stressful fight or flight state of mind, various different disorders can happen as a result that we're still going through today. So Black people as a whole are still under a lot of this stress just living, thinking about, if I get out of line in any type of way, something could happen to me. And of course, we couldn't fathom what happened to Emmet. So many in this current generation do not know But I was present at all of the episodes that we saw, except for the scene in the coroner's office. Now, I was there during that scene, but they did not allow me to rehearse that due to the fact that that was very traumatic. We had therapists on set during the filming. Emmett's birth. My first day on set was Emmett's birth, as you saw. That even was a traumatic situation because, of course, he did not have a easy birth, being a breech baby. That was tremendously difficult, being in the hospital bed and reenacting that. The home there in Chicago, when Uncle Mo asked for, that Emmet would be okay, assuring Mamie that he would be okay. She having, mother's intuition about and fear about what could happen to her very intelligent, very confident young man that she was rearing, who did not understand that in the Deep South, that was a threat and you could not show that type of promise as a Black male. And, we'll talk to Dr. Umar Johnson a little later about some of that. I was not there for the Money, Mississippi Bryant scene, of course, because Mamie was not a part of that. But the night that they took Emmet, I was asked to stand in for Elizabeth Wright, who was the aunt of Emmet and was there at the house and tried to even offer money for them not to take Emmet. You will see that was a very, very traumatic night to even be a part of. And so what happened with that was we also brought those bowls out. We brought out the sound baths to help ground the energy of the night. As night fell and we're on an old plantation there, the winds picked up like it was going to be a tornado that night. It was very eerie, to say the least. And I remember as I was playing the bowls and I began playing, I brought my rain stick out, as our native people believe that the rain sticks help to awaken the spirits. Black people, especially from Mississippi, there's a lot of deep correlation between our Native American brothers and sisters. Many of us are mixed with the Black and the red, as our people sought refuge with the Native Americans there. So we have so much of that in our bloodline. And all of that really was their land. And so I brought that rain stick out. And as I was playing the bowls that night, as we began filming, I happened to look up, and standing in front of me was this white man. And he said, "Thank you for what you're doing for us tonight. I'm Roy Bryant." And I looked at him like, "You are?" And he says, "Well, I'm playing the bad guy tonight, but I'm nothing like him." And I thought that was interesting that character came up to me as I was, playing that. And some of the production people, they were very, very appreciative that we were doing something to try to ease everybody's nerves and calm everything down so that we could get through it, because it was very, very difficult. So when we look at all of that in conjunction to what is being stimulated with us today in seeing these images, some of us are seeing it for the first time. There are so many emotional stresses that are coming up in people, as so many. I got over 100 texts about the first airing, as I sent them to my clients to watch.
You know what? Let me
People
ask you
were
a question about
that
that.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, let me
Go
ask you a
ahead.
question about that, Iman.
Mm-hmm.
We have Dr. Umar Johnson here tonight to talk about impacts as a clinical psychologist on the ways that this kind of trauma are embedded, how they live out and are often misdiagnosed. What
Mm-hmm.
questions do you have for him?
Yeah, so Dr. Umar, I definitely am so happy that you agreed to be on with us.
I'm sorry, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me, Dr.
Yes, I
Umar?
can.
Yeah.
Oh, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Well, as the
We
world
can hear
would have
Dr.
it,
Umar.
Dr. Muhammad,
Mm-mm. Please
Dr.
go back to
Johnson,
Dr.
I'm sorry.
Umar. Yes, sir. Dr. Johnson, can you please just speak to the Emmett Till story in light of where we are currently with your work with children and the psychology of what this has done to our people and what seeing it again and bringing this up is doing for us as a people?
Indeed. The only thing worse than trauma is untreated trauma. And what I see happen a lot with our children in schools is many of them are victims of undiagnosed trauma. What is often considered a learning disability are the side effects or the after effects of trauma, emotional trauma from abuse, from neglect, from parental absence due to mass incarceration, the trauma of poverty, the trauma of seeing violence and even homicide. And when I think about and reflect upon what happened to Emmett Till, I think that the reality is in America, Black males are not allowed to be boys. All Black males will be treated and given the consequences of full-blown men. You saw it with Emmett Till. Whether he whistled or didn't whistle is irrelevant. It should not have cost a 14-year-old his life. We see the same thing with Trayvon Martin, and we've seen it with Tamir Rice, and we see it with others. And I think one of the great teaching moments of Emmett Till's story, his life, and his legacy is we can use it. I use it as a foundation upon which I can teach Black boys and girls that in American society, in this racial power structure, you are not given the opportunity to make the same mistakes as white boys and girls. And so you have to always practice discipline and self-control when you walk out of your house. We see the inability to give Black boys their right to a childhood when we look at record numbers of Black boys being expelled from school, record numbers of Black boys being suspended, record numbers of African American teenagers being tried as adults. And so for me, one of the greatest memories, one of the greatest principles, one of the greatest lessons to be learned from the Emmett Till story is the fact that Black males are not allowed to be Black boys. They will all be given the consequences of men, whether they are 4, 14, or 40 years old.
Mm, mm, mm. That is so powerful, and that's one of the things we're going to see in the not this tonight, but next week. We'll see that that Emmett is actually put on trial for his murder. He's put on trial as a man, and they keep referring to him as a man, and so that's something that is so significant. What you said, brother, and the thing about it is that our young boys need. And we thank Jay-Z, we thank Will Smith as Black men who came up from the genre of hip hop, the rose that grew from concrete, and to come from Marcy's Projects, and to come from Philly and the streets of Philly, and be able to be in a position to tell the story of this young Black 14-year-old boy, knowing that it could very well have been them and could very well be them in this day and time. We are going to look at the impact of the funeral, and we're going to see that in this next episode um, as she recovers her son's body from Chicago, which was a tremendous piece there. But also, we're going to see the introduction of what organizations like the NAACP and their impact of rallying around Mamie, the Black press, and their role in getting Emmett Till's story out there, and why it was so important to see that in this hour as well. We have Brother Tori Muhammad on with us tonight, and Tori is the former editorial assistant for the Final Call newspaper. He's also former communications director for U.S. Congressman Bobby Rush. Congressman Bobby Rush is working with the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation for the passage, and we did get a passage that has advanced to the House this past December of the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill. That anti-lynching bill, had it been passed before Ahmaud Arbery's killers were tried, they would have been tried underneath that bill. Congressman Bobby Rush is also sponsoring that, but he also just recently got the gold medal for Mamie Till and for Emmet Till passed as well. Tori, can you talk to us about the impact of the Black press and your work with organizations like the Nation of Islam and their role in standing in and helping with these types of pieces that impact not only individual families, but us as a whole, and also your work with Congressman Bobby Rush?
Absolutely. So I think I would start off by saying that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach that history is our guide.
Yes.
History provides the springs and motors of human activity. And we can see the importance of history as we talk about and discuss our beloved son, nephew, and brother, Emmet Till. The Black press was the critical piece, right? White media, mainstream media, if they were talking about it, they were talking about it very minute, and they definitely weren't showing the pictures. When our beloved mother, Mamie Till, was trying to get the press to talk about it, the mainstream media didn't talk about it. And so, of course, it was Jet. It was the Chicago Defender, I think, that really kicked it off. But then, of course, throughout the country, Black media stood up and spoke truth to power. We know how important communication is in being able to do anything. Of course, a movement, but you can't run a family without communication. So it is critical to have communication avenues that will speak to our cause. So, as a journalist, as a writer, as an author, definitely the Black press, which kicked off in this country in 1827, in New York, has been, with Freedom's Journal, has been critical to all of our movements, all of our discussions, all of our upliftments. The Marcus Garvey movement, the Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party, everyone had to make sure that they had a communication apparatus, because as the African proverb says, until the lions write history, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So we thank the Black press for what they're doing today. And it's taken on a new face today in many ways, but we still have some of the traditional ones and stalwarts out there. So, of course, the Final Call newspaper, I was able to write some stories about the movement as Mother Emmet Till kept it going. Mamie Till kept the movement going. And the Nation of Islam has been there in various parts throughout the country, whether it's providing moral support, whether it's helping to speak the cause, whether it's doing security. We definitely stand in the gap to help in many ways to make sure that our people are safe and secure. So we got to continue to control the narrative. And I love what has been said already, because it's so important for us to talk about the lessons learned and the things that we need to do to come together so that we can unite and work towards building the proper infrastructure and the proper network so that we can protect ourselves and we can heal ourselves.
Thank you, Tori. You and I worked together at the Final Call, and we were there when after the deaths of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur. And Minister Farrakhan convened all of the rappers from the East Coast to the West Coast there on the south side of the city of Chicago. And that impact of that day, Minister asking them to take responsibility for their lyrics, for whatever they had done that helped to create the climate for East Coast, West Coast beef. And to see now where we are with hip hop artists, putting their money up. $35 million it took to do this production. It was Rock Nation Film, as well as Overbrook Entertainment, from, Will Smith going from Parents Just Don't Understand to an actor to actually producing something that is impacting our community, impacting our people, to tell his story, a story that they did not want to be told. So we're very grateful for that. And thank you, Brother Torrey, so much for all of your work in our community and on behalf of our people. The funeral, which we will see coming up tonight, of course, is a major moment in Black history here in America. But that courage that she had to do that and open that casket also opened up that trauma for everybody else, but it was necessary. We spent an entire day filming that in Memphis, Tennessee. We spent an entire day in the cemetery, which was very difficult to do. Being there around graves all that time, but just preparing for Emmett's body to arrive. The following day, the impact of the Black community coming out and mourning with Mamie was so prevalent. You will see that as you see all of our people that were standing on the outside. And there was a part where we had to get out of the car to set up for Mamie. And it was tremendous just to be able to walk through that line of energy of the people that were there in support of her. I actually called on set while I was in with the casket by myself, and everybody else was still outside. I broke down on set crying hysterically. I called Deborah Watts, Emmett's cousin, to try to make sense out of what I was feeling, but just talking it over with her, trying to ground.
And may I just say that the trauma that you experienced on the set at that time, 50 years later, okay, this is what we're talking about in terms of the post-traumatic stress syndrome and the triggers that we experience.
Absolutely.
And I want to go to Ollie Gordon, because what we feel, how much more deeply and how much more painfully would it have been experienced by a family member? Ollie, we got introduced to the character of Emmett Till and his personality really for the first time this past Thursday. Jay-Z and Will Smith moved us beyond the boy who whistled at a white woman into more of who he was and how he was. And of course, folks here in the neighborhood, here in West Woodlawn, remember him as Bobo, a sweet-spirited, jocular kind of guy, and just really a fun-loving boy. We have the picture of him on his bicycle up at the Till Museum. But you lived in that house there at 6427 with Mamie. How do you recall Emmet, and how do you recall Mamie? Her intelligence, her strength, elegance, what? It really came forth in the first episode. What were your feelings?
As I recall Emmet was a typical 14-year-old. He was a happy kid. He was very responsible in as much as helping his mom around the house with chores since his mother worked. He learned at an early age how to pay the bills. He was more like a sibling to myself and my siblings than a cousin, because until we came, he was the only child. He loved, he was a prankster. He loved to make people laugh. So he loved the pull pranksters. He loved to tell jokes. He had a dog named Mike. I think it was a golden retriever. He loved older people. That's something that I always think of, because throughout the neighborhood, if Emmett saw an older person struggling with groceries or whatever, they didn't have to ask. He would run and, of course, help them to get it into their homes. He would go and shovel their snow, rake the leaves. Just he was helpful in many ways, and I think that came from being nurtured and being raised in a home with the grandmother for so many years. Emmett's mother was a very loving and a very caring and very giving person, as she joined with her mother to help my family, as well as other families that came before we did, migrate from the Deep South for a better life here in the Chicago area. And we ended up living in the building at 64th and St. Lawrence with them. She was always very strong in advocating education, always making sure that we had a strong religious foundation. She was very careful, even after Emmett's death, to make sure that we as children knew that all white people were not evil and that we should not hate. It was a few people that caused this atrocity to Emmett, and we should not. She wanted us to be able to survive and live in this world. So she did what she had to do to prepare us for the life that we was about to embark upon.
How do you think Adrienne Warren is doing portraying Mamie, that sacred figure in our story?
I think she's doing an awesome job. I look at her, she looks very much like Mamie looked at that age. She has embodied the spirit. I told her sometimes in looking, because I've seen all the episodes, it's almost like Mamie's spirit is embodied in her. She is really exemplifying her character in a magnificent way. You're getting the feeling that she is Mamie in a sense.
Well, now that is beautiful and inspiring, because we know about so many biopics or depictions that carry some other kind of strange narrative that is removed from the reality a bit too far. In case folks did not tune in last week, are featured in the companion piece, the documentary, Let the World See. Can you share a little bit about how you feel the importance of that documentary compares with the importance of the film? Give us some context. Give us some insight.
I think the documentary complements Women of the Movement, because you've seen the episodes, and now you come to the documentary and you get to see actual family members that lived and knew Emmet and knew Mrs. Mobley. You hear them tell their story firsthand. It's not second or third hand. You are able to see many images that I work very tirelessly trying to get them together, things that have never been seen before. It brings more. I think it brings more truth, more understanding of the story as it's being told in Women of the Movement. Many people tuned in and they wanted to see more of the documentary. They felt that it helped them to understand even more. It answered a lot of questions, and I've gotten many calls with questions in reference to things that was paralleled in Women of the Movement and then with the documentary. So I think that both complement each other. I think I'm very glad that they decided to do a documentary alongside Women of the Movement.
And that's at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time following the film tonight. And I think it's important, Ollie, what you bring up here, the context of the movement as it emerged then, as it lives now. We last week talked about the Ahmaud Arbery trial, the stunning verdict that we were validated in. And I want to bring on our next guest, Dr. Lynn Whitfield, who has played such a key role in that element of justice. Okay, so our colleague tonight, Iman Ali, has talked about the healing, that central piece that we absolutely must engage in if we are to be able to, to really advance the cause that we're committed to. Healing, we believe, comes first. But that justice piece, and of course, we know Mamie was famous for her forgiveness. But let's bring on Attorney Whitfield. Iman, do you want to just give us a little bit of context for that?
Sure. I met attorney Lynn Whitfield. Of course, I work with Ahmaud Arbery's family in their healing process in the Golden Isles area. And I met attorney Whitfield as a part of the trial for Ahmaud. And we talked in an interview where the Transformative Justice Coalition called Ahmaud Arbery's case our Emmett Till moment. And I remember asking you as we were waiting on verdict and the wrapping of the trial, what do you think will happen? We have somewhat a similar situation with a predominantly white jury. Do you think we'll get justice? And you were hopeful. And so tell us, you were right. And I was a little skeptical about that, but you were absolutely right. Thank God that we have a different outcome. Can you talk about your work with Ahmaud's family and the trial as it relates to Emmett?
Well, thank you very much, Vaughn, and thank you, Naomi, and everyone involved with Blacks in Green. I was very honored to have the privilege to get to know the family of Ahmaud Arbery. And we worked primarily with the father and his family. They actually met when the co-leaders of Transformative Justice were in Brunswick for doing a votercade during the runoff elections in Georgia. And there they met the oldest aunt, Diane Arbery. And she introduced them to her sisters. And then we heard the story, the real story, because, we didn't hear a lot about his death until he died in February 23rd. Then we had Breonna Taylor, who got killed March 13th. And then this video surfaced on May 5th. And it was within 2 days of the surfacing of that video that charges were brought against the three men that killed Ahmaud. And then you start looking at the similarities. Of course, there's the obvious: two young Black men gunned down by vigilantes for no real reason other than the color of their skin. And the most important thing, though, I think that came out of it is the death of Emmett Till started the movement back in 1955. It really was the beginning. And although Ahmaud's death did not really start the movement, it was a major contributor, because by the time that video came out, and then a couple of weeks later, the death of George Floyd, the country is at that point, our community was at a point where we were ready to say, we're not going to take this. We're going to get involved. And what happened in both of those cases is, unbeknownst to the family members, unwanted by the family members, they were made to become advocates. The woman that you saw in that opening video tonight, Ruby Arbery, is the youngest aunt of Ahmaud Arbery. And I'm going to tell this story quickly. I know she won't mind because she tells it herself. She, until the time of her nephew's death, when she was 53 years old, she was not a voter. She had not voted at all. But his death got her to the point where she realized that the only way that they were going to get justice was they had to get rid of that corrupt prosecutor. So they came together as a family, and they worked not only to get out that video and to get out the truth about how Ahmaud was killed. But they worked to get a new person, an independent, elected and defeated the incumbent prosecutor, which had never occurred in Glenn County. So I see the similarities being that these deaths, as tragic as they were, they created advocates. Mamie Till Mobley became an advocate. The Aubrey family is now an advocate. And they are working towards not only justice for Ahmaud, but justice for all young Blacks that are killed in our country, especially at the hands of vigilantes. So thank you for having me on to talk about that similarity.
Yes, and what we are witnessing here is history being made. We are, as Toure Muhammad has expressed, authors of this narrative, and we're interested in finding out if we could just double back to Dr. Umar Johnson, this idea that history, and especially the hot topic now of critical race theory, is receiving so much pushback as the authors of our own narrative and as the stewards of children who are traumatized, as well as adults. We're quite clear. What can you share with us about your thoughts on critical race theory and how they address or don't healing in the times here now that we need it so much?
There is a difference between education and therapy. There is a difference between learning and healing. Now, part of the healing process does involve learning, but it does not end there. I do believe in critical race theory in principle. Without question, the dehumanization and enslavement of African people in America is the central foundational event that has given rise to the greatness of what the United States of America has become. There's no denying that. So although I agree with critical race theory in principle, I don't know if I fully agree with it in practice. And what I mean by that is simply this. We as American Africans are nearly a $2 trillion a year people. We spend $2 billion on basketball shoes every year, $800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork every year, $30 billion on hair care and other beauty products. I'm saying that to say that if we want to teach Black children who they are, where they come from, and their foundational role in the creation of the United States of America, then why aren't we building our own schools in our community? Why would we much rather fight the United States government to improve public education when we have the economic and intellectual ability to operate our own schools? We have churches on every other corner. Why aren't they open 2 or 3 days every week so our children can learn their history and learn about critical race theory? I think it is a contradiction. In the name of Emmet Till and all of those great ones who came before us, Mamie Till Mobley included, it is a contradiction for us to beg for others to do what we can do for ourselves. Some things we have to fight for. There's no question. The Emmet Till anti-lynching bill, we have to fight for that to get approved. The George Floyd justice and policing bill, we have to fight for that. But there's so many things we can do on our own that don't require a struggle. And building schools and teaching our own children are definitely one of them.
Well, there's something very inspiring in your clarity and your certainty, and we're just really moved and want to make sure that we're staying in step with you. We'll definitely want to bring you back for subsequent conversations. Our schools are in such turmoil. Our children are at deep risk. Thank you for being here. I want to, just as we conclude for tonight and looking forward to dialing in just a few minutes to episode 3 and 4, from 7 p.m. Central to 9 p.m. Central on ABC tonight. I want to share a super duper exciting news about our collaborations with Collaboration. Many of you, as we said earlier, understand that Blacks in Green are the proud stewards of the Emmet and Mamie Till Mobley home at 6427 South St. Lawrence. We stand in solidarity with our other Till cousins, as we like to call others who are working in the movement to heighten the awareness of the Till and of the Emmet and Mamie story. And that includes, of course, our own Ollie Gordon here tonight. It includes Dr. Marvell Parker and Wheeler Parker, her husband, who are working with the Roberts Temple National Monument Movement. It includes Deborah Watts and her daughter, whose great work is happening in Mississippi at the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, and with justice at the tip of their spear. And it includes, of course, the Interpretive Center, also there in Mississippi. We are proud and delighted and honored to be the purveyors to you of all that is updating in the resurgence and the rightful resurgence, I'll say, of the Emmett Till story as a turning point in American history. And we're so super duper excited to be able to announce to you tonight that Collaboration, a theater company here in Chicago, is proudly partnering with one of our very best friends, the DuSable Museum of African American History, for a theatrical reading of a new adaptation of the never before adapted trial transcript. You lawyers out there, take your lawyer hats off and put your heart hats on. This is going to open hearts and minds like nothing other than theater can really do in a recreated moment. We're so delighted that the transcript has come into the hands, the state of Mississippi versus Milam and Bryant, the men who were at the time found guilty of the murder of Emmet Till, co-adapted and written by Collaboration company members G. Riley Mills and Willie Prince Rock Round, co-directed by Collaboration company member Dana Anderson and artistic director Anthony Mosley. Its partnership with the Till House Museum, that's us. It will be happening on February 17th with our Crucial Connections program. And we're going to host a conversation with me, along with Marion Brooks of NBC Chicago, and a member of the Jason Van Dyke prosecution team. So we are super duper excited that my great love of theater gets to take a center stage here in the emergence of the Emmet and Mamie Till House Museum, again, 6427 South St. Lawrence, where we are building a community performance space next door to the Till House Museum, along with a garden. And as we announced on Mamie Till's 100th birthday celebration at the Green Living Room, here on the culture corridor of the Obama Presidential District, here in the southernmost tip of the Black Metropolis National Heritage Area Black Belt, we announced that internationally renowned sculptor Richard Hunt would be doing a commission on the lawn of the garden of the Till Museum, Performance Center and Garden. And so aren't we just blessed to be able to have this kind of talent, this kind of dedication, and this kind of legacy continuing forward? And please do keep your eyes on blacksandgreen.org for more details of that play and more information about our other cousins in the Till family story across the country. We love you so much. We thank you, and good night.
everyone, and also look forward to what's coming out of the hip hop community when it comes to the Emmett Till story. You can look for the political swagger of Jay-Z from Emmett Till to Meek Mill coming up as a exhibit that will come to a town near you, Chicago, starting out debuting in the city of Chicago. Also, a collaborative album, hip hop style, verses and lyrics that are specifically geared toward Emmett Till's story. We've never seen anything like this before. We have over 20 artists who have come on board to help us tell the story to our young generation and close that generational gap. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Iman Ali with Blacks in Green.
66 years ago today, in the wee hours of the morning, 14-year-old Emmet was kidnapped from the home of his aunt and uncle in Money, Mississippi. He was taken to a barn just outside of Drew, Mississippi, where he was beaten, tortured, and brutally murdered by a group of white men.
I'm like fine wine with each line, getting better with time, make you press rewind on each rhyme. Deuce, deuce, land, cruise on, producing land. I sat in heaven at once, so tell me who the man. Scratch that, yo, who the black god? I drop diamonds on the verse, it's that hard from all the pressure. A quarter ticket ain't nothing special, I learned that. Being financially illiterate when I burnt that. See, all I ever wanted was to lift my mama's burden. How she non-stop working, and we non-stop hurting. Make it make sense. Shit, I couldn't myself. Started doing magic tricks with these cards I was dealt. Me and O ran it up, yo, O, we ran it up. Out of state, I'll be damned if I sell it to my people. My partner prayed to white Jesus and he died waiting. Now we pouring liquor on the curb like it's libations. Turn this up if you feel me. I must have made the ancestors proud, cause these crackers trying to kill me. And what I'm spitting, just a day in the life. It's too late for reparations, now you paying the price. Dear America.
3 days later, his body was found in the Tallahatchie River with a fan tied to it. And the only way that family members were able to recognize Emmet was due to a ring on his finger that belonged to his father, Louis Till.
And still, no justice for Emmett Till. You would call me a racist if I let you know how I feel. Keep it real. If I whistled at a Karen, would that justify them disfiguring my parents? Poor Mamie had to die with the pain, living with regret for letting Emmet ride on that train. Almost 70 years later, facing problems the same. But nobody really dies unless you silence the name. Dear America.
We know that there is a trail of blood and trauma that leads from the Delta of Mississippi into the city of Chicago. And it is my belief that the current violence is a direct result of a generational trauma that has plagued our people for too long. Hi everyone, it's Iman Ali, Urban Zen integrative therapist, Reiki master teacher, and ambassador for the Emmet Till Legacy Foundation. As ambassador for the Emmet Till Legacy Foundation, it gives me great honor to continue the work of fighting for justice for Emmet. We are working very feverishly to get the passing of the bill, H.R. 55, the Emmet Louis Till Anti-Lynching Bill.